It was a roller coaster ride for the UNLV Rebels last season. You started out 4-1, started out really well. It was looking like you guys were going to make a bowl game last year. Then you ended up losing 6 straight, getting out of bowl game contention, and Marcus Arroyo was fired. So now you enter a new head coach. It is Barry Odom, and this is the UNLV program that is looking to build off of last season and potentially make their way into a bowl game here in 2023. That is the expectation. The only question: can Barry Odom's first year here at UNLV prove to be a success and they get to a postseason game? Or is this going to be a year where UNLV maybe builds off of last year, but it's going to take some time to break back into the postseason? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I am previewing, predicting, analyzing all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer. Guys, that means I am doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that team gets uploaded. But there are more ways than that for you guys to help me support my channel. Hey, you can do, or I should say you are doing one right now by watching the video, and you can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you guys are willing and able to do to help me support my channel. We do not have many teams left to go through this summer. Only about 2 weeks left of predictions, actually less than 2 weeks left of predictions, but we're continuing with the Mountain West, talking about UNLV today. Hey, how do we do things around here? We're going to go through a roster overview and look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 UNLV football schedule, and we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, here is the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, the Rebels. Let's go ahead and look at their roster overview first. And I understand the text can be a little bit hard to read with the colors of UNLV, so don't worry. I'm going to go through and read pretty much every name that is on this board here. When you take a look at the quarterback position, you are going to lose Harrison Bailey, threw for 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception last year, but your primary starter was Doug Brumfield, and he will come back. 1,898 yards, 10 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on almost 65% completion percentage, and in 90 carries on the ground at 261 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So definitely as a dual threat quarterback option. You'd like to see him improve his game maybe a little bit more, but as a good game manager and definitely a solid piece in the quarterback room for UNLV. And you also have Cameron Friel coming back as well, who could get some playing time this year as he did last year through 49 passes, almost 67% completion percentage, just over 350 yards. Still a solid option, but Brumfield will be that guy to start under center for 2023. You lose an absolute dude in the running back room, 1,000-yard rusher in Aiden Robbins, almost 5 yards per carry, but 1,011 yards to be exact. 9 rushing touchdowns last year. Really good player. He is transferred out of the program, so that's a big loss for UNLV. However, you do get Courtney Reese coming back. Had 7.2 yards per carry last year, 372 yards. Sadly, no touchdowns for him, but you also do get a transfer coming over from Pittsburgh in Vincent Davis, so that'll be a nice piece to the running back room. He may get the bulk of the carries for this team, but Courtney Reese, a very solid option back there as well. Wouldn't surprise me to see him be the number 1 coming into 2023 either. When you take a look at the wide receiver room, well, you are going to be losing some weapons here as well, as Kyle Williams and Nick Williams, your second and third leading receivers, both of them are going to be gone. 541 yards and 5 touchdowns for Kyle, and then for Nick, 435 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. And then also Jeff Weimer is going to be gone. That was your 4th leading receiver last year, 278 yards and a touchdown. However, your leading receiver was Ricky White. He comes back, 51 catches, 619 yards, and 4 touchdowns last season. Seneca McKee will also come back, and then you bring a bunch of transfers in as well. Dominic Jacinto, Gavin Thompson, Jacob De Jesus, and I think there's 1 or 2 more that I could have put up on this board that I just didn't get to put up on the board. Again, I just don't have room, but some very solid players entering the wide receiver room for UNLV. The tight end room, hey, you get both of those guys back. Shelton Zion and Kaleo Balangay will be coming back to this tight end room this season. And then on the offensive line, you do lose a lot of talent here, as Leaf Fautanu, Julio Garcia, Davion McDaniel, and Preston. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to say Nichols, but Preston Nichols will be gone out of the offensive line room this season. However, who do you return? Well, you are going to return Amani Trigg, right? But there are also, again, a lot of transfers coming to this program. Jack Hayes is coming over from Buffalo, and then Jalen St. John is into this program as well, and he comes over from Arkansas. So there's another Power 5 transfer for this offense that I think is going to be pretty solid in the Mountain West Conference this year. Now, defensively, there are also some key pieces leaving this defense. Let's talk about them. First, starting out with the defensive line. You are going to be losing a really key piece of this defense. Led your team in sacks last year. It's Adam Plant, third leading tackler on this team as well. Really, really good player that you lose. You're also going to lose guys like Tavis Malachias and Eliel Ehimar, who is going to be gone off of this defensive line as well. So, let's take a look at what you do have coming back, though, on the defensive line. Darius Johnson is coming back for this team on the defensive line. 45 tackles, 2 sacks for him last season. Jalen Dixon also comes back, and Waisale Muavesi will be coming back as well. Some other pieces on the defensive line for the Rebels. In the linebacking unit, well, Kyle Boudry is going to be gone. That's a pretty decent loss for them, 48 tackles last season. However, you do return some other key pieces. Your leading tackler among linebackers last year was Fred Tompkins. He comes back, as well as guys like Elijah Shelton and Marcel McDuffie. Both of those guys going to be returning to the linebacker room this year. And a lot of transfers come in. Xavier Carter is a transfer, I believe, a former 4-star out of high school from LSU. So that's a big-time transfer for them. You're also getting Jackson Woodard and then Ben Amina, both of them coming into this program as well. Now, in the defensive back room, you take a huge hit here when you lose Austin Ajaki. I don't know if I said that last name right. If I didn't, I apologize. But he was your leading tackler by far last year. Broke triple digits with ease. 124 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions last season. He was a machine. That's a huge loss for this Rebel defense. You're also going to be losing guys like Noel Williams, who was tied for the team lead with 3 interceptions, 5 pass defended, 39 tackles. Phillip Hill is also going to be gone off of this team, and then BJ Harris is leaving as well. Now, when you take a look at who is coming back, though, well, your second leading tackler, Jonathan Baldwin, comes back. Jordan Morgan and Jere Williams will also be returning to this team, as well as guys like Cameron Oliver. He comes back. And then some transfers coming in. Jackson Turner is coming over by way of Arizona, and Jalen Frazier coming over by way of NC State. Your head coach is Barry Odom. Your offensive coordinator is Brennan Marion, and your defensive coordinator is Mike Schurer. As now we take a look at the 2023 Rebel football schedule. Any game that is underlined is a home game, while any game on the road is in italics or that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Rebels are going to win handedly. Any game in yellow is a game that, okay, might be a back and forth type game. You know, it's going to be interesting to watch, but I still think the Rebels win, and red is a loss. You should get an easy first win of the year against the Bryant Bulldogs. That's a team out of the FCS ranks that I think UNLV will easily be able to handle. However, again, this team started out 4-1 last season. I don't necessarily see this team starting out 4-1 again. You got 2 Power 5 opponents coming up next, and I think you lose to both of them. Let's get the easy one out of the way first. The Michigan Wolverines are my personal pick to win the national title this year, with J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, a lot coming back on that defense, as well as some transfers coming in as well. Michigan's going to be one of the best teams in the country this year, and there is no way UNLV will beat the Wolverines. And I also do not see them beating the Vanderbilt Commodores, although this one is a much more winnable game. Vanderbilt, hey, they were quite a surprise team last year. They ended up getting 5 wins, and a lot of people think this team can make a jump and make a bowl game this year. However, they did lose some pretty solid talent to the transfer portal, and I think it's going to be maybe not another rough year for them. I think it's going to be a pretty solid year in terms of what Vanderbilt has done in the past. Definitely a little bit more of a winnable game for UNLV, but I still think Vanderbilt is going to get rolling here in the early season, and they will be able to beat the Rebels. So you start out 1-2 here, but I do believe you bounce back. You go on the road. I think UTEP is going to be a tough cookie this year for anyone that has to play them. I do think there is some solid talent on that team. However, I think UNLV, with some of the dudes they have on offense here, I think it'll be too much for that minor defense, and then the UNL defense with all the transfers they have will be able to step it up there as well. So I got UNLV being able to win that game on the road against UTEP in week 4. Then you come into Mountain West Conference play, and you play 2 teams that I just am not quite there yet in terms of how I think they're going to do. For one, I do think you'll beat Hawaii fairly easily. Not a team that I have much confidence at all entering the Mountain West Conference play here in 2023. I just don't think they are going to be that great. I think it's going to take a long, long time for Hawaii to get back up to standard. and then you get your bye week before going on the road to play Nevada here. I do think you go on the road and beat Nevada. Now, that was one of the worst teams in FBS last season. I do expect improvement from the Wolfpack here in 2023. However, when I take a look at that program, I do not see them being as good as their in-state counterparts in the UNLV Rebels. So I do think that UNLV going on the road will win a very close and competitive game. Now, you get to come back home and you get to play Colorado State. Colorado State here in week 8 is going to be a tough out for a lot of people this year. That was a sneaky good defense last season, and it does lose some key pieces, but returns a lot of nice talent as well. The offense returns Torrey Horton. He is a very, very good wide receiver, if not the best wide receiver that the Mountain West Conference has to offer here in 2023. You do have a quarterback that comes back, and while you'd like to see that quarterback play improve for sure, Colorado State, I think, is going to be a team that is going to massively improve this season. Now, maybe it doesn't lead to a bowl game, but I think they do take a couple of jumps in terms of how many games they win by at least 2. That's a Colorado State team I really like this year. And while I could see it as a winnable game for UNLV, I do think that Colorado State is going to end up getting the better of the Rebels here. I just think that defense, with how aggressive it played last year, I think it's going to play really good football this year as well. And I think the offense with Torrey Horton, a returning quarterback that I think will improve this year, I think Colorado State comes into Allegiant Stadium, pulls off what some people may consider a minor upset here against the UNLV Rebels. However, UNLV, I do not think will be able to flip the upset script on Fresno State. I do think you end up losing that game. Now, the story with Fresno State is clear and simple. You lost a lot of guys on offense, including star quarterback Jake Hayner, a 1,000-yard rusher, and a 1,000-yard receiver, as well as a lot of other talent on that team as well. However, with Mikey Keene coming in to that team, I believe there still is a lot of good talent with the next man up mentality there at Fresno State. You got some good transfers coming in. Defensively, I think they're going to be pretty sound as well. Would not surprise me at all to see Fresno State back in a Mountain West Conference championship setting. So I do believe that they will be a little bit too much for UNLV. And by this point in the season, they should have most, if not everything, figured out, and they should be getting on a good roll. Then you got to go on the road and play the New Mexico Lobos. New Mexico is a team that sat at the bottom of the Mountain West Conference for a long time, and while I could see improvement from the Lobos this year, it's just been really tough getting that wolf to hunt here in Mountain West Conference play as of late. That may continue this season as well, going on the road. Maybe New Mexico puts up a little bit of a fight, closer game than many people expect, but I do think UNLV is going to walk away with a win in that one. Next up, you got the Wyoming Cowboys. Now, you get this one at home, and I could see it as a winnable game for UNLV. However, I think there is too much returning talent on that Wyoming defense. Could be one of the best units in the Mountain West Conference this season with all they have coming back. You look at the quarterback play, maybe you'd like to see it improve a little bit, but there are some good skill position players on offense for that team. I just see Wyoming especially being too aggressive defensively, too tough for this UNLV team to handle, and that will be a loss for UNLV. I also believe that Air Force is going to be a loss here as well. Again, the Air Force Falcons are going to play really, really good defense. It is their bread and butter. Now, that team did lose a lot offensively, so if UNLV can score enough points, okay, maybe it's too many points for the Air Force Falcons to be able to score, but I think with how hard-nosed of defense that the Air Force Falcons can play, I believe that will be a loss for UNLV, and then it all comes down to this. I think this is the game at the end of the season that your postseason hopes ride on, is this game against San Jose State. I went back and forth with this one, but ultimately, I think the difference maker in this game is Siobhan Cordero, one of the best quarterbacks in the Mountain West Conference, in my humble opinion, even though there are some good players leaving that defense, some overhaul to that wide receiver room there with the Spartans. I think that Brent Brennan's got a very solid team. Again, as I said, he's got one of the best quarterbacks in the Mountain West Conference that I think will just prove to be a little bit too much for UNLV. And with that being said, 5-7 is my record prediction here for 2023. Now, would it shock me if UNLV made a bowl game? Absolutely not. You got a lot of games at home that are very winnable. San Jose State, Wyoming, Colorado State, maybe even Vanderbilt there as well. I think this team is perfectly capable of making a bowl game. Again, like I said, just comes down to a couple of the determining factors in a couple of these toss-up games, and I think you're on the losing end of a lot of them. But wouldn't surprise me to see this team make a bowl game. That's my thoughts on the Rebels. Let me know yours in the comment section below. And as always, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder.